After my wife's funeral, she left me an old savings passbook. My daughter threw it in the trash and said, "Throw it away, Dad. Mom never had any money." I still brought it to the bank, and the manager went pale. "Please wait here, we need to call the police." Even the bank director was stunned when he saw it. That's when I realized justice only comes when you go looking for it. And I had a plan. Thanks for being here. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? And be honest, would you trust your own daughter with $3 million? Disclaimer. This narrative includes fictionalized elements. Names and settings have been changed, but the message behind it remains valuable. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you sooner. Those were the last words my wife said to me. Not "I love you," not "take care of yourself." Just an apology that made no sense. I stood beside Claudia's casket now 3 months after she'd slipped away in her sleep, and those words still haunted me. The Ollinger Chapel smelled like lilies and furniture polish, 57 years old. That's all the time she got. And for the last 2 of them, she'd barely looked me in the eye. I didn't understand it then. I don't understand it now. Dad. Natalie appeared at my elbow, her hand light on my arm. My oldest daughter wore black like she'd been born to it, sleek dress pearls, perfect makeup that somehow made her tears look graceful. "Are you okay?" I nodded, though we both knew it was a lie. Across the chapel, Hannah stood by herself near the wall. My youngest daughter wore a simple black dress, her brown hair pulled back in a plain ponytail. She looked small, alone. Before I could say anything, a man in a gray suit approached us, Douglas Sinclair. I recognized him vaguely, one of Claudia's colleagues. "Mr. Walsh." He extended his hand. "I'm so sorry for your loss. Claudia was a remarkable woman." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a manila envelope. "Claudia asked me to give this to you. After." He pressed it into my hands. She was very specific about the timing. I stared at the envelope. My name was written in Claudia's neat handwriting. "What is it?" Natalie asked. "I'm not entirely sure," Douglas admitted. "She just said it was important." He lowered his voice. "She also said to tell you, trust no one but yourself." A chill ran through me. "What does that mean?" "I don't know, Mr. Walsh." He handed me a business card and disappeared into the crowd. I opened the envelope. Inside was something wrapped in tissue paper and a folded note. I unwrapped it carefully. A passbook. Old-fashioned, the kind banks stopped issuing 20 years ago. The cover was worn edges soft from age. Heritage Community Bank, it said, in faded gold letters. I opened it. Claudia's name, an account number, the date March 15th, 1988. "What is it?" Natalie craned her neck to see. "A savings passbook." I flipped through page after page of entries, numbers I didn't understand, dates going back decades. Natalie laughed. Not cruel, not quite, but close. "Shut your savings account." "That's what she left you." She plucked it from my hands, squinting. "Dad, this is ancient. Mom probably forgot she even had this." She handed it back. "An old passbook. Mom never had money, Dad. She clipped coupons her whole life. Whatever's in there is probably empty." She patted my arm. "Don't get your hopes up." I unfolded the note. Claudia's handwriting. "Gregory, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Go to Heritage Community Bank downtown. Ask for Warren Shields. Trust no one else. I love you. See." "What does it say?" Natalie asked. I folded it back up, slid everything into my jacket pocket. "Something personal." "Dad." "Not now. Please." 2 hours later, our house in Capitol Hill was full of people I barely recognized. Neighbors, co-workers of Claudia's, people bringing casseroles and sympathy I didn't know what to do with. I stood in the kitchen, staring at nothing. "Dad, you should eat something." Natalie appeared with a plate. "You haven't had anything all day." "I'm not hungry." She set the plate on the counter. "Okay, I'm going to start cleaning up a bit. People will be leaving soon." I watched her move through the kitchen, efficient and graceful. She picked up empty cups, wiped down the counter. Then she reached for the manila envelope I'd left sitting there. "What are you doing?" I said. "Just tidying." She pulled out the passbook, glanced at it again. "Dad, seriously, this thing is worthless. It's just going to upset you every time you see it." "Natalie, let me throw it away for you." She was already moving toward the trash can under the sink. "You don't need reminders of..." "Give it back." She paused, the passbook hovering over the trash. Then she smiled. "Of course, sorry. I was just trying to help." She set it back on the counter, but I saw something in her eyes, something I didn't recognize. "I need some air," I said, and walked out to the back porch. Through the kitchen window, I watched Natalie look around. The room was empty now. Everyone had drifted into the living room. She picked up the passbook again. This time, she didn't hesitate. She opened the trash can and dropped it in, pushed it down under some paper towels. Then she walked out the back door. A man was waiting for her in the driveway, tall, good-looking in that too smooth way. I'd seen him outside the chapel earlier. Natalie glanced back at the house, then leaned close to him. "Did you get it?" he asked, voice low. She nodded. "It's done. It's garbage." "Good." He touched her arm. "Your old man doesn't suspect anything. He doesn't suspect anything. He never does." They walked toward the street together, and I stood there on my own porch, frozen. Inside, through the kitchen window, I saw Hannah. She'd come in from the living room. She was standing by the trash can, staring down into it. Slowly, she looked up. Our eyes met through the glass. She looked terrified. Then she turned and walked away. I couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet. That's what nobody tells you about grief. It's the silence that kills you. No sound of Claudia moving around in the bathroom. No soft breathing beside me in bed. Just emptiness that pressed down on my chest, like a weight I couldn't lift. At 4:30 in the morning, I gave up trying. I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, my mind circling back to the same thing it had been circling since yesterday. The passbook. Natalie's hand hovering over the trash can. "Let me throw it away for you." And then later, through the kitchen window, watching her drop it in, watching her walk out to that man in the driveway. "It's done. It's garbage." Why would she throw it away? Claudia had left it for me, specifically, with instructions. Trust no one but yourself. I stood up, pulled on my robe, and walked downstairs. The kitchen was dark, except for the small light over the stove. The house still smelled like the casseroles people had brought yesterday, like sympathy and obligation. I stood there for a moment, staring at the trash can under the sink. 58 years old. That's what I was. 58 years old. And I was about to dig through garbage at dawn, looking for answers my wife couldn't give me while she was alive. I opened the cabinet, pulled out the trash bag. It wasn't full, we'd just changed it yesterday morning before people arrived. I set it on the floor, untied it, and started pulling things out. Paper towels, an empty casserole dish someone had left, coffee grounds, a crumpled napkin. And then I felt it. The worn cover. Soft edges. I pulled the passbook out carefully, like it might disintegrate in my hands. There was coffee grounds smudged on one corner, a wet spot from something I didn't want to identify. I wiped it off with a paper towel and carried it to the kitchen table. My hands were shaking. I sat down under the dim stove light and opened it to the first page. Claudia Coleman Walsh. Account number 4782-0156-9933. Date opened March 15, 1988. 37 years ago. We'd been married for 22 years then. Hannah was just a baby. Natalie was 5, and Claudia had opened a savings account I knew nothing about. I flipped through the pages, entry after entry, small deposits mostly. $50 here, $100 there, sometimes $200. The dates were regular every month, sometimes twice a month. Page after page of Claudia's financial life laid out in faded ink and stamped numbers. I turned to the last page. The final entry was dated 2 weeks before she died. February 10, 2025. There was a deposit amount $200 and then a balance. But the balance was smudged, like someone had gotten the page wet. I could make out the first few numbers, maybe a 3, maybe a 0, but the rest was illegible. And underneath, stamped in red ink, were 7 lines of text. Unauthorized access attempt, March 15, 2024. Unauthorized access attempt, June 22, 2024. Unauthorized access attempt, August 9, 2024. Unauthorized access attempt, October 30, 2024. Unauthorized access attempt, December 14, 2024. Unauthorized access attempt, January 20, 2025. Unauthorized access attempt, February 3, 2025. I stared at the red stamps 7 times. Someone had tried to access Claudia's account 7 times over the course of nearly a year. The last attempt was just 2 weeks before she died. Who and why hadn't she told me? I set the passbook down, hands still trembling, and pulled the note from my robe pocket. I'd read it yesterday at the chapel, but I read it again now. Gregory, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't explain while I was alive. I was protecting you. Go to Heritage Community Bank downtown. Ask for Warren Shields. Don't go to anyone else. Don't tell anyone what you find. Trust no one but yourself. I love you. I always have. See, protecting me from what I looked at the 7 red stamps again. Unauthorized access attempts. Someone had been trying to get into Claudia's account. Repeatedly. For almost a year. And she'd known about it. She'd kept the passbook, kept the evidence, but never said a word to me. Trust no one but yourself. I thought about Natalie yesterday. Her hand on my arm. Don't get your hopes up, Dad. Her dismissive laugh. Mom never had money. And then later. Let me throw it away for you. I thought about the man in the driveway. Did you get it? It's done. It's garbage. My daughter had thrown away something my wife explicitly left for me. Something Claudia had protected. Something she'd kept safe through 7 attempts to access it. Why I stood up, the passbook clutched in my hand, and looked out the kitchen window. The sky was starting to lighten, not quite dawn, but close. The neighborhood was still asleep. Houses dark, streets empty. Somewhere in this quiet house, my daughters were sleeping. One of them had looked terrified when she saw the passbook in the trash. The other had thrown it there, and I didn't know which scared me more. I looked down at the passbook again, at the 7 red stamps, at Claudia's instructions. Heritage Community Bank, Warren Shields. Trust no one. I folded the note carefully and put it back in my pocket. Wiped the passbook clean one more time. Held it like the fragile, dangerous thing it was. Who tried to access your account, Claudia? I whispered to the empty kitchen. And why didn't you tell me? The house stayed silent. But now I knew where to find answers. Heritage Community Bank didn't open until 9, but I was standing outside the glass doors at 8:30. I'd barely slept after finding the passbook, just sat at the kitchen table in the dark, staring at those 7 red stamps trying to make sense of what I was seeing. By the time the sun came up, I'd made coffee I didn't drink and gotten dressed in the first clean shirt I could find. I had to know. The lobby was empty when they unlocked the doors. Marble floors, high ceilings, the kind of old bank that had been here since before Denver became whatever it was now. A young teller looked up from behind the counter. "Can I help you?" "I need to see Warren Shields," I said. My voice sounded strange, hollow. "Do you have an appointment?" I pulled the passbook from my jacket pocket and set it on the counter between us. My wife left me instructions. She said to ask for Warren Shields, no one else. The teller looked at the passbook, then at me. Something shifted in her expression. "One moment, please." She disappeared through a door behind the counter. I stood there holding on to the edge of the marble like it was the only solid thing left in the world. 2 minutes later, a man emerged. 50s, maybe. Gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses, a suit that looked like he'd worn it every day for 20 years. He walked straight to me. "Mr. Walsh." "Yes." "I'm Warren Shields, branch director." He extended his hand. His grip was firm, certain. "I've been expecting you. Please follow me." He led me through the lobby past the teller windows, into a small office with a desk and 2 chairs, and a computer that looked older than my marriage. He closed the door behind us. "I'm very sorry for your loss," he said quietly. Claudia she was a remarkable client, a remarkable woman. "You knew her, for many years." He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Please, sit." I sat. Set the passbook on the desk between us. Warren picked it up carefully, like it was something fragile. He opened it to the first page, then turned to his computer and began typing. I watched numbers and letters scroll across the screen. Account numbers, dates, things I didn't understand. Then he stopped, leaned forward, stared at the screen for a long moment. "Mr. Walsh," he said slowly. "Do you know what's in this account?" "No." My throat was dry. The balance was smudged. I couldn't read it. He turned the monitor toward me. "Account 4782-0156-9933. Account holder: Claudia Coleman Walsh, joint holder, Gregory Walsh, added February 15, 2022. Current balance $3,047.612. 83. $3,047,612. I stared at the number until it stopped making sense, until the digits blurred into something abstract. "Unreal. That can't be right," I heard myself say. "I assure you it's correct." Warren's voice was gentle. "Your wife opened this account in 1988. She made regular deposits for 37 years, small amounts mostly, never enough to draw attention, but consistent, disciplined." He paused. "The compound interest over that time period is substantial. 37 years. I did the math in my head. 37 years was... Hannah was born in 1995. Natalie in 1990. Claudia had started saving 2 years after Natalie was born, before I'd gotten my promotion at the engineering firm. Back when we were living in the small rental on York Street and eating spaghetti 3 nights a week because that's what we could afford. "I didn't know," I said. "She never told me. She was very clear that you wouldn't." Warren folded his hands on the desk. 3 years ago, she came in and added you as a joint account holder. She said if anything happened to her, you needed immediate access. No probate, no delays. 3 years ago, right around the time the unauthorized access attempts started. The red stamps, I said, in the passbook, 7 of them. Warren's expression darkened. Yes, I need to explain those. He turned back to his computer, pulled up a different screen. Over the past year, someone has attempted to withdraw or transfer funds from this account 7 times. Each time using forged documents, forged signatures. Who? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he opened a desk drawer and pulled out a manila folder. Thick, official-looking. He slid it across the desk to me. Security footage, he said. From each attempt. I opened the folder. Inside were printouts. Time-stamped photographs from the bank's security cameras. Black and white, grainy but clear enough. The first photo was dated March 15th, 2024. A woman at the teller window, dark hair pulled back. Expensive coat. Confident posture. Natalie. I flipped to the next photo. June 22nd, 2024. Same woman, different outfit, same confident smile. The third, August 9th, Natalie again. I went through all 7. Every single one was my daughter. Different dates, different clothes, same face. She tried 7 times, Warren said quietly. The first 6 times she attempted to withdraw funds using a power of attorney document. But the signatures didn't match our records. Our system flagged them immediately. And the 7th time, she tried to change the account beneficiary, remove you, add herself. He paused. That attempt was made on February 3rd, 3 weeks before your wife passed. I set the photos down. My hands were shaking again. Why didn't you call the police? Your wife wouldn't let us. Warren's voice was careful now. Every time an attempt was made, the system automatically called Claudia for verification. Every time she declined to press charges, she said she would handle it herself. He looked at me. She also said specifically that you were not to be informed. Not until after she was gone. Why? I don't know, Mr. Walsh, but I can tell you this: 3 years ago, when she added you to the account, Claudia told me something. She said, Warren, if something happens to me, my husband is going to need answers, and he's going to need protection. She asked me to keep these records, all of them, the photos, the forged documents, everything. He pulled out another folder from his drawer, even thicker than the first. She was building a case, Warren said, against her own daughter. The words hung in the air between us. Against her own daughter. My daughter. Our daughter. $3 million. 37 years of secret savings. 7 attempts to steal it. All while Claudia was dying and I knew nothing. I looked down at the photos again. At Natalie's face, at the confidence in her posture. The entitled smile. Mom never had money, Dad. Whatever's in there is probably empty. Let me throw it away for you. She knew. She'd known the whole time. Mr. Walsh. Warren's voice pulled me back. There's something else. I looked up. Your wife also left something in our vault. A safe deposit box. He stood up, pulled a small key from his desk drawer. She instructed me to give you access the moment you came in. He held out the key. Would you like to open it? I took the key. It was small, cold, heavy with whatever it unlocked. Yes, I said. I would. I sat in the vault room for a long time after reading Claudia's letter, staring at nothing. The journals sat on the table in front of me. 5 years of evidence. 5 years of my wife watching our family fall apart and carrying it alone. He would never believe his golden child is a thief. She was right, but it was worse than that. 3 years ago, Hannah came over for dinner. Just the four of us, me, Claudia, both girls. Rare even then. Natalie was always busy. Hannah was quiet as usual, picking at her food. Halfway through the meal, Hannah set down her fork. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something." Natalie looked up, eyes sharp. "What is it, honey?" I asked. Hannah hesitated, glanced at her sister. "It's about... Natalie borrowed money from me last year. $20,000. She said she'd pay me back in 6 months. It's been 14 months now." Hannah. Natalie's voice was soft, wounded. "I told you I'm working on it. Things have been difficult." "I know, but I'm struggling with rent and... You're bringing this up at dinner." Natalie's eyes filled with tears. Perfect tears, right in front of Mom and Dad. "You know I've been dealing with the divorce and the business problems." "I didn't mean... It's fine." Natalie stood up, dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. "I understand. You need your money. I'll figure something out." She looked at me. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't want you to see me like this." She was already grabbing her purse, heading for the door. I followed her to the driveway. "Sweetheart, it's okay. Money is tight for everyone right now. I don't want to be a burden, Dad." She wiped her eyes. "Hannah's right. I should have paid her back by now. I'm failing at everything." "You're not failing. You're going through a rough patch." I pulled out my wallet. "How much do you need right now?" "Dad, no." "How much?" She hesitated. "If I could just borrow $30,000, I could pay Hannah back and cover expenses until the new contract comes through." "Done." I wrote her a check right there. "Pay Hannah back first. The rest is yours." She hugged me. "Thank you, Daddy. I don't know what I'd do without you." I watched her drive away. Then I went back inside. Hannah was clearing the table, her face red. Claudia stood by the sink, her back to me. "That wasn't fair to Natalie," I said to Hannah. "Ambushing her like that at dinner." Hannah's hands froze on a plate. Ambushing her. Bringing up money issues in front of everyone. If you needed to discuss it, you should have called her privately. I did call her 15 times. She never answers. She's going through a divorce, Hannah. Try to be more understanding. Understanding. Hannah's voice cracked. "Dad, she..." "That's enough." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. "Your sister is struggling. The least you can do is show some compassion instead of jealousy." The word hung in the air. Jealousy. Hannah set the plate down carefully. Picked up her purse. "I should go." "Hannah." But she was already out the door. Claudia never turned around from the sink. Never said a word. 2 years ago, I came home from work and found Claudia sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. I'd been noticing it more, the distance, the silence, the way she barely looked at me anymore. "Hey," I set my briefcase down. "You okay?" She didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice was flat. "I'm fine." "You don't seem fine. You haven't seemed fine for months." I sat across from her. "Talk to me." "Nothing's going on." "Claudia." I said, "I'm fine, Gregory." She stood up, walked to the sink, started washing dishes that were already clean. "What is this about us?" I asked quietly. "Are we okay?" "We're fine, but we weren't fine. I knew we weren't fine. I just didn't know why. Later that week, Natalie stopped by. She found me in the garage organizing tools I didn't need to organize. Dad, you okay? Yeah, just thinking. She leaned against the workbench. Is it Mom? I looked up. What? Mom, she seems distant lately. Is everything okay between you two? I don't know. The admission felt like failure. She won't talk to me. Natalie nodded slowly. She said something to me last week about you. My chest tightened. What did she say? I don't know if I should. Natalie, please. She hesitated. She said she feels like you don't make time for her anymore, that you're always working, and she's just alone. She said that, I'm sorry, Dad. I shouldn't have told you. I just hate seeing you both like this. After Natalie left, I tried harder, came home early, suggested dinner out, a weekend away. But every time Claudia had an excuse. She was tired. She had work. She wasn't feeling well. Eventually, I stopped trying. What I didn't know was that Claudia had never said any of it. Never complained about me working. Never said she felt alone. And Natalie had gone to Claudia too. Told her I'd said I was tired of her nagging, that I felt suffocated, that I needed space. Also a lie. For 2 years, my daughter stood between us, fed us lies about each other, created distance where there was none, made sure we were too hurt, too confused, too proud to actually talk. And I believed every word. The vault room came back into focus. The journals, the letter. Even when I seemed cold these last 2 years, I was trying to protect you. She wasn't cold. She was terrified. Watching our daughter destroy our family and knowing that if she told me, I'd never believe her. She was right. I wouldn't have. My phone buzzed. Hannah's name on the screen. I answered. Hannah. Dad, where are you? Her voice was shaking. At the bank. Why, what's wrong? I need to talk to you about Natalie. A pause. And about Derek. My blood went cold. Who's Derek and Natalie's boyfriend or husband? I don't know anymore. She was talking fast now. Dad, I should have told you sooner. I should have said something at the funeral, but I was scared. Hannah, slow down. What about Derek? He's the one who got me to borrow the $80,000 3 years ago. He and Natalie came to me together with this investment opportunity. They said I'd double my money in 2 years. I trusted them. Her voice broke. And then they both disappeared. I've been paying off that debt for 3 years, and I just found out last week Dad Derek has done this before. To other people. Other families. He has a record. The man in the driveway. Did you get it? Where are you right now? I asked. Home. Dad, are you okay? You sound... I'm coming over. Don't go anywhere. Don't talk to Natalie. Don't answer if she calls. Okay, Dad. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up. Looked down at Claudia's letter one more time. Natalie is not working alone. Now I had a name. Derek. Washington Park was nearly empty when I arrived. Late morning on a weekday. Hannah sat on a bench near the lake, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold something in. I sat beside her. Neither of us spoke for a moment. We just watched the ducks glide across the water. Thank you for coming, she said finally. You said you needed to talk about Derek. She nodded. 3 years ago, Natalie called me. Said she wanted coffee. Just us. Sister time. a bitter smile. We hadn't done that in years. I should have known something was wrong. What happened? She brought someone with her. Derek introduced him as her boyfriend. He was charming, confident, the kind of person who makes you feel special. Hannah's hands twisted in her lap. They told me about an investment opportunity, real estate development in Colorado Springs. Derek showed me projections testimonials. It looked legitimate. How much? 80,000. She said it fast. I told them I didn't have that. Derek said I could take out a loan. The returns would be so good, I'd pay it back in 18 months and still have profit. He promised to double my investment in 2 years. And you believed him. Natalie vouched for him, Dad. She said she'd already invested. She said you and Mom were thinking about it too. Hannah looked at me. Were you? No, we never heard about it. She closed her eyes. Of course not. So you took out a loan. First Mountain Credit Union. 80,000 at 12%. No collateral, so the rate was high. I thought it didn't matter because I'd pay it back fast. What happened? For 6 months, Derek sent updates, photos of construction sites, progress reports. Then the updates stopped. Then nothing. She wiped her eyes. I tried calling, texting. He disappeared. Natalie said he'd left town for a business emergency. She said she was worried too, that she'd lost money. Did you believe her? I wanted to. She's my sister. Hannah's voice turned bitter. But then the loan payments came due. $1,800 a month. I'm a graphic designer, Dad. I couldn't afford rent and the loan. I couldn't afford groceries some months. I sold my car. Stopped going out. Worked constantly. I thought about the dinner 3 years ago. Me writing Natalie a check. Me calling Hannah jealous. Why didn't you tell me? I tried. Her voice was quiet. At dinner that night, when I asked Natalie about money, but you called me jealous. After that, I figured there was no point. You weren't stupid. You were lied to. For 2 years, I paid that loan. Every month. $1,800. I moved to a cheaper apartment. Ate ramen. I couldn't even afford to take time off for Mom's funeral. Tears streamed down her face. Then 8 months ago, the credit union called. Said my loan had been paid in full. $80,000. Gone. They said it was anonymous. You didn't know who. I thought maybe Natalie felt guilty. Or Derek paid me back. I didn't understand. She looked at me. Until yesterday. I saw you with the passbook. Saw Natalie throw it away. And I knew. Mom had been watching everything. I pulled out the receipt from my jacket, handed it to her. Hannah read it slowly. Loan payoff. Hannah Walsh. $80,000. Paid by Claudia Coleman Walsh. She saved me, Hannah whispered. She knew I was drowning and didn't say anything. She just saved me. She loved you. She wanted to protect you. Why didn't she tell me? Because if she did, it would tear the family apart. She was trying to build a case quietly. And then she died before she could finish. Yeah. We sat in silence. The ducks kept swimming. The world kept moving. There's something else, Hannah said. About Derek. I looked at her. After the funeral, I searched for him online. Derek Samuel Morrison, 40 years old. He has a criminal record. She pulled out her phone, showed me a mugshot. The same man from the driveway. Elder fraud. Financial exploitation. Arrested in Florida in 2012, Arizona in 2016. Both times he targeted older people, fake businesses, retirement money. He served time in both states. My blood went cold. And now he's with Natalie. Yeah. Hannah's voice was steady now. He's done this before, Dad, to other families. I think he targeted Natalie, used her to get to the rest of us. I stared at the photo. Derek Samuel Morrison. The man who'd gotten my daughter to steal. The man who'd tried to take $3 million from my wife. The man who was still out there. We're going to the police, I said. Right now. Hannah nodded. Okay. But as we stood to leave, I looked back at the lake. Thought about Claudia. How she'd seen all of this coming. How she'd saved Hannah without taking credit. Trust no one but yourself. Derek wasn't just Natalie's boyfriend. He was the predator. And we were the prey. By the time we got back to my house, it was dark outside. Hannah set her laptop on the kitchen table and opened it. Her hands were steadier now. Focused. Let me show you what I found. I pulled a chair beside her. She typed Derek Samuel Morrison into the search bar. The results filled the page. News articles, court records, mugshots, a trail of destruction stretching back over a decade. Here. She clicked on the first article. Miami Herald, August 2012. Local man arrested in elderly fraud scheme. Derek's photo stared back at me. Younger but the same face, the same smile. Hannah read aloud. Derek Samuel Morrison, 32, arrested for defrauding 3 elderly victims out of $420,000. Charged with wire fraud, identity theft, and exploitation of the elderly. What happened to him? Pleaded guilty, 18 months in Florida State Prison, released March 2014. And then, Arizona. She clicked another article. Phoenix New Times, October 2016. Man sentenced in retirement scam. Derek Morrison, 36, sentenced to 2 years for targeting retirees. Posed as a financial advisor. Convinced victims to liquidate retirement accounts. Total losses exceeded $600,000. I stared at the screen. He served time. Got out. Did it again. Yeah. Released from Arizona in December 2018. She pulled up a Facebook profile. 1 month later, he was in Colorado. The profile showed Derek at Red Rocks. January 2019. She scrolled through his photos. Most were ordinary hiking restaurants, concerts. Then she stopped on one dated April 2019. Derek and Natalie. His arm around her shoulders. Her smile bright and genuine. 6 years ago, I said quietly. Right when he got to Colorado. She clicked through more photos. May 2019 Rockies game. June dinner somewhere fancy. August 2019, a selfie in front of my house. My house. He targeted her, I said. Look at this. Hannah pulled up another article. Arizona Republic, November 2016. 2 women arrested in elder fraud case. 2 mugshots. Both women in their 30s. Both attractive, well-dressed. Melissa Craig and Jennifer Morrison, both romantically involved with Derek Morrison, arrested for conspiracy to commit fraud. Prosecutors allege the women helped Morrison identify and access victims. Craig got 3 years. Morrison, Derek's wife, got 5 years. His wife went to prison. Both of them did. Or girlfriends. Hannah pulled up another article. The first was in Florida. Sarah Bennett helped Derek forge documents and access bank accounts. 2 years, I sat back. He finds women, uses them. When they get caught, he disappears. 3 times that we know of. Florida, Arizona, Colorado. Same pattern. Meet a woman. Charm her. Get her to help him target people, usually family. When it falls apart, she goes to prison. He walks away. And now he's with Natalie. For 6 years. I thought about Claudia's journals. The first entry was March 2020, 1 year after Derek appeared. He spent a year getting close before Natalie started stealing. He's patient. Hannah clicked through more photos. Derek at Thanksgiving 2019. I barely remembered him being there. Just some guy Natalie was dating. Quiet, polite, forgettable. That was the point. Look at this. She pulled up a website. Morrison Financial Consulting. Professional logo. Sleek design. Photos of office buildings and happy clients. This is the company he used for my pitch. It looks legitimate, right? I scanned the page. Testimonials, performance charts, a Denver address. It's all fake. The address is a UPS store. The phone number's a burner. The testimonials are stock photos. This woman, she pointed to a smiling blonde. She's a Russian stock model, never invested $1 with Derek. I felt sick. How did you find all this? I've had 3 years to dig, Dad. 3 years paying off that loan and wondering who he really was. She closed the laptop. He's a predator. He's careful. He's smart. And he's still out there. I stood up, walked to the window. The street outside was quiet. Ordinary. Somewhere out there, Derek Morrison was planning his next move. Or maybe he'd already found a new woman in a new state. There's one more thing, Hannah said. I turned around. She opened one of the folders I'd brought from the bank. You said Claudia left emails. Can I see them? I handed her the stack of printed emails. She flipped through quickly, then stopped. Look at the date. February 24th, 2025. The day Claudia died. The email was from Derek to Natalie. The subject line was blank. The old lady's gone. Now we just need to get rid of the passbook, and the old man won't know anything. Stick to the plan. I read it 3 times. The old lady's gone. Claudia had died that morning. By that evening, Derek was already planning how to cover it up. Stick to the plan. This wasn't opportunistic. This wasn't Natalie acting alone. Derek had been running this scheme for 6 years, waiting for Claudia to die so he could access the money, and Natalie had been helping him the entire time. We need to go to the police, Hannah said. Now. I looked at the email again. Derek's words, cold, casual, clinical. My daughter hadn't just fallen for a con man. She'd become his accomplice. And my wife had known, had documented everything, had tried to build a case strong enough to stop them both. Trust no one but yourself. I folded the email, put it back in the folder with the rest of Claudia's evidence. Let's go, I said. Hannah grabbed her coat. I grabbed the folder. Together, we walked out into the night. Somewhere out there, Derek Morrison was still free. But not for long. The Denver Police Department was busier than I expected for 9 in the morning. Phones ringing. Officers moving between desks. Fluorescent lights made everything look harsh and too real. Hannah and I stood at the front desk. I held the folder against my chest, like a shield. Can I help you? The desk sergeant looked tired. I need to report a crime. Financial fraud. Elder exploitation. He picked up the phone. Let me get someone from financial crimes. 10 minutes later, a woman in a gray blazer appeared. Early 40s, dark hair, pulled back sharp eyes. Mr. Walsh, I'm Detective Rebecca Stone. Her handshake was firm. You said something about elder exploitation. My wife passed 3 months ago. She left documentation, evidence. Come with me. She led us to a small interview room. Gray walls, a table, 3 chairs. This is my daughter Hannah. Rebecca nodded. Have a seat. Tell me what's going on. I set the folder on the table, pulled out the passbook first. My wife saved $3 million over 37 years. I didn't know until after she died. Someone tried to access the account 7 times using forged documents. Rebecca picked up the passbook, flipped through it. Something sharpened in her eyes. Who? My daughter. Natalie. The bank has security footage. I pulled out the photos. Rebecca studied each one carefully. And these, she gestured to the journals. My wife documented everything. 5 years. Every lie. Every dollar stolen. Every manipulation. I opened the first journal. She started keeping records the day she discovered Natalie was forging her signature. Rebecca read silently. Her jaw tightened. She picked up the second journal. The third. Your wife was building a criminal case. I know. Why didn't she come to us while she was alive? She wanted ironclad evidence, and she was protecting me. She knew I wouldn't believe it. I looked down at my hands. She was right. Rebecca set the journals down. What else? I pulled out the receipts. $250,000 my daughter borrowed from me over 5 years. Never repaid. And this my wife paid off Hannah's $80,000 debt. A debt Natalie and her boyfriend created through a scam. So, boyfriend, Derek Samuel Morrison. Hannah showed Rebecca the mugshot. 2 prior convictions for elder fraud, Florida and Arizona. Rebecca's expression changed. She took the phone, studied the photo, turned to her computer. Derek Morrison. I know that name. FBI has him on a watch list for interstate fraud. He's been with Natalie for 6 years, I said. I think he targeted her to get to our family. Proof. I handed her the email. The old lady's gone. Rebecca read it twice. When she looked up, her eyes were cold. Like this was sent the day your wife died. Yes. Mr. Walsh, do you believe your daughter was involved in your wife's death? The question hit me like a punch. What number? Claudia died of a heart attack, natural causes. You're sure? The death certificate. I stopped. You think? When I see a suspicious death followed by an email about covering up crimes, I have to ask. She made a note. I'll request the medical examiner's file. I couldn't breathe. Let me tell you what I see here, Rebecca said. Elder financial abuse, identity theft, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud. 7 felony counts minimum against Natalie Walsh. If Derek Morrison is involved, we're looking at interstate fraud, possibly RICO charges. There are 3 more victims, Hannah said quietly. Rebecca looked at her. Haturtilo. What? Natalie worked as a care coordinator for a senior services nonprofit from 2020 to 2023. She had access to elderly clients. 3 people filed complaints about missing money. The nonprofit fired her, but no one pressed charges. Rebecca's pen was moving fast. Names. Hannah pulled out a paper. Evelyn Tucker, 78, $15,000 in a fake real estate investment. Raymond Fisher, 83, $22,000 in a veterans charity scam. Irene Fletcher, 80. She was my mom's neighbor. $18,000 for fake home repairs. Rebecca stared at the list. Your sister targeted elderly people for 3 years. Yes. This isn't family drama. Rebecca looked at me. Your daughter and Derek Morrison are serial predators. Multiple victims. Multiple schemes. This is organized crime. The room felt too small. What happens now? I asked. I'm opening a formal investigation. I'll contact the FBI about Morrison. I'll reach out to these victims for statements. She looked at me. And I'll need yours. Everything. Timeline interactions, what Natalie said and did. I'll do it. You understand what this means. If we arrest Natalie, you'll have to testify in court. Stand up and tell a jury your daughter is a criminal. My throat was tight. She is a criminal. Rebecca nodded slowly. Then we'll move forward. I'll get the bank records and footage, bring in the victims, prepare an arrest warrant. She paused. Mr. Walsh will arrest your daughter tomorrow. She'll be arraigned within 48 hours. Are you ready for that? Was I ready to watch my daughter get handcuffed, to see her in court, to testify against her? No. But Claudia had been ready, had prepared for years, had carried this burden alone. Now I had to finish what she started. Yes, I said. I'm ready. Rebecca stood, extended her hand. Then let's get justice for your wife. I shook her hand, and for the first time since Claudia died, I felt like I was doing something she would have wanted. Not forgiveness, not mercy, justice. 2 days later, I stood across the street from Natalie's house in Cherry Hills Village and watched 2 police cruisers pull up to the curb. I didn't have to be there. Rebecca had told me that, but I needed to see it, needed to know it was real. The house was massive. 3 stories, brick facade, perfectly manicured lawn. I'd helped Natalie with the down payment 4 years ago. $50,000 I'd thought was going toward her future. Now I knew where the money really came from. Rebecca got out of the first car. 2 uniformed officers followed. They walked up the curved driveway to the front door. Rebecca knocked. It took 30 seconds. Then the door opened. Natalie stood there in yoga pants and an expensive sweater. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was perfect. She looked like she was about to head to brunch, not get arrested. She saw Rebecca's badge. Her face changed. Can I help you? Natalie Walsh. Yes. I'm Detective Rebecca Stone, Denver Police. I have a warrant for your arrest. Rebecca pulled out the paper. Our charges include elder financial abuse, identity theft, forgery, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Natalie's mouth opened. What, there must be some mistake. No mistake. Please turn around and put your hands behind your back. Wait. Wait. Natalie's voice rose. I need to call my lawyer. You can't just... You can call your lawyer from the station. Turn around. That's when Natalie saw me, standing across the street, watching. Her face went white. Dad. I didn't move. Dad, what's happening? What did you tell them? Rebecca pulled out handcuffs. Ma'am, I'm not going to ask again. No. No, this is insane. Natalie stepped back. Dad, tell them this is a mistake. Tell them. 2 neighbors had come out of their houses now, standing on their porches, watching. Dad, please. Natalie's voice cracked. Real tears now, or tears that looked real. I couldn't tell anymore. I made mistakes, okay, but I'm your daughter. You can't let them do this to me. I crossed the street, slowly, stopped at the edge of her driveway. Natalie looked at me like I was her last hope. Daddy, please. I know I messed up. I know I borrowed too much money. But we can fix this. As a family. We don't need the police. Please. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the journal, the one from 2023, opened it to the page I'd marked. October 12th, 2023, I read aloud. Natalie came by today, asked if I'd updated my will recently. I said no. She said, "Well, you're not getting any younger, Mom. You should think about it." Then she laughed, like it was a joke. But I saw her face. I saw what she was really thinking. Later, when she thought I couldn't hear, she was on the phone in the kitchen. She said, "I don't know how much longer I can wait. The old bitch needs to hurry up and die so I can finally get what's mine." Natalie's face went from white to gray. Mom wrote that 4 months before she died. I looked at my daughter, at this stranger wearing my daughter's face. "You wished her dead because you wanted her money." "That's not I never." Natalie's voice was shaking. "Dad, she misunderstood. I was talking about something else. A business deal, not her. Never her. Your mother was a CPA for 30 years. She didn't misunderstand numbers. She didn't misunderstand words. And she didn't misunderstand you." I closed the journal. "You're not my daughter anymore. My daughter died the day you chose money over your mother." Natalie's face crumpled. No, you don't mean that." "Turn around," Rebecca said quietly. Natalie turned. The handcuffs clicked. She started crying harder now. "Dad, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll fix it. I'll pay everything back. Please don't do this." But she wasn't sorry. She was caught. There's a difference. Rebecca led her toward the cruiser, read her rights. Natalie kept looking back at me, tears streaming down her face. "What about Derek?" I asked Rebecca. "He's gone. Left town 2 days ago. We have an alert out, but he's in the wind." She opened the back door of the cruiser. "FBI is looking for him now. Interstate flight. He'll turn up eventually." Natalie was put in the back seat. Through the window, I could see her crying. Could see her mouth moving. Probably still saying she was sorry. Still trying to manipulate. Still thinking there was a way out. The cruiser pulled away. A car pulled up behind it. Expensive. Black. A man got out in a suit that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. "Mr. Walsh." He extended his hand. I didn't take it. "Aaron Mitchell, I'm representing your daughter." "I know who you are." "Then you know I'm very good at what I do." He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "I've reviewed the preliminary charges. It's a lot of noise, but noise doesn't win cases. Evidence does. And evidence can be complicated. My wife left 5 years of documentation. Documentation written by a woman who sadly passed away and can't testify to its accuracy. A woman who, by your own admission, kept secrets from her husband. Who can say what was real and what was paranoia?" My hands clenched. "Are you calling my wife a liar?" "I'm saying grief does strange things to people. Makes them see patterns that aren't there. Make accusations that don't hold up in court." He adjusted his cufflinks. "My client will plead not guilty, and we'll see you in court, Mr. Walsh, where you'll have to stand in front of a jury and accuse your own daughter of wanting her mother dead. Think about how that's going to feel." He got back in his car, drove away. I stood there in the street. Natalie's neighbors had gone back inside. The street was quiet again. Normal, like nothing had happened, but everything had happened. My phone buzzed. "Hannah, Dad, are you okay?" I looked at Natalie's perfect house, at the life she'd built with stolen money, at the facade that was finally cracking. "No," I said, "but I will be." "Where are you?" "On my way home." I got in my car, drove away from Cherry Hills Village, away from the daughter I used to know. Rebecca had said Natalie would be arraigned tomorrow, that the trial would probably start in a few weeks, that I'd have to testify, stand up in front of a courtroom and repeat everything Claudia had written, everything Natalie had done. Aaron Mitchell thought that would break me. He was wrong. I'd already been broken. At Claudia's funeral, in the vault at the bank, reading 5 years of journals that showed me how blind I'd been. This wasn't breaking me. This was putting me back together. The courtroom smelled like floor polish and desperation. I'd been in courtrooms before jury duty, once a traffic ticket when I was younger, but never like this. Never sitting in the gallery watching my daughter at the defense table, her hands folded, her face carefully blank. 3 weeks had passed since the arrest. 3 weeks of sleepless nights and phone calls with Rebecca. 3 weeks of preparing myself for this moment. Hannah sat beside me. Her hand found mine and squeezed. The room was more crowded than I expected. Media in the back rows, Natalie's neighbors, people I didn't recognize. And in the third row on the left, 3 elderly people sat together. Evelyn Tucker, Raymond Fisher, Irene Fletcher, the people my daughter had stolen from. Irene caught my eye. She'd been Claudia's friend, had come to our house for coffee, had trusted us. She nodded once, her face sad but resolute. I nodded back. All rise. Everyone stood. Judge Patricia Morrison entered, a woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. We sat when she did. The state of Colorado versus Natalie Elizabeth Walsh, the bailiff announced. Case number 2025-CR-001847. I looked at Natalie. She wore a navy suit. Her hair was pulled back. She looked smaller than I remembered. Younger. Like the daughter I used to know before Derek, before the stealing, before everything. Aaron Mitchell sat beside her, expensive suit, calm expression. On the other side of the room, Andrea Connolly stood at the prosecution table. Early 40s, dark suit, a stack of folders in front of her that I knew contained 5 years of Claudia's documentation. Ms. Connolly, Judge Morrison said, opening statement. Andrea stood, walked to the center of the room, looked at the jury, 12 people who would decide my daughter's fate. Thank you, Your Honor. Her voice was clear, strong. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about trust, about family, and about what happens when someone violates both in the most calculated way possible. She gestured to a screen on the wall. A photo appeared. Claudia, smiling, alive. My chest tightened. This is Claudia Coleman Walsh. For 37 years, she saved money. Small amounts. $50 here, $100 there. She was a CPA, a woman who understood numbers, understood planning. By 2025, she had saved $3,047,000. The jury leaned forward. Claudia never told anyone about this account. Not her husband, not her daughters. She kept it secret because she was afraid. Afraid of the defendant. Andrea pointed to Natalie, her own daughter, because for 5 years the defendant attempted to steal that money. 7 times. 7 separate attempts using forged documents, forged signatures, lies. Andrea clicked through images. The security footage from the bank. Natalie at the teller window. Different dates. Different clothes. Same face. The defendant didn't act on impulse. This was calculated. Patient. Cruel. While her mother was dying, the defendant was trying to steal her life savings. And when the attempts at the bank failed, the defendant turned to other victims. 3 more photos appeared. Evelyn, Raymond, Irene. Evelyn Tucker, 78 years old. The defendant convinced her to invest $15,000 in a fake real estate fund. Raymond Fisher, 83. The defendant ran a fake charity and stole $22,000 intended for veterans. Irene Fletcher, 80. The defendant took $18,000 as a deposit for home repairs that never happened. Andrea's voice hardened. 3 elderly victims. $55,000 stolen. And that doesn't include the $250,000 the defendant borrowed from her father and never repaid, or the $80,000 she and her accomplice stole from her own sister. Hannah's hand tightened in mine. The charges are 7 counts of attempted fraud, 3 counts of elder financial abuse, identity theft, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud. The evidence will show that Natalie Walsh is not a victim. She is a predator, and the jury will have the opportunity to hold her accountable. Andrea sat down. Judge Morrison looked at Aaron Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell, your opening statement. Aaron stood, buttoned his jacket, walked slowly to the center of the room. He didn't look at the jury right away. He looked at Natalie. Let them see his client, young, vulnerable, alone. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Aaron Mitchell, and I represent Natalie Walsh. And I'm here to tell you about the real predator in this case. He paused. Derek Samuel Morrison. He clicked a button. Derek's mugshot appeared on the screen. Derek Morrison, 40 years old, 2 prior convictions for elder fraud in Florida and Arizona. A professional con man who targets women, manipulates them, uses them to access money, and then disappears when things go wrong. Derek Morrison met Natalie Walsh 6 years ago. He was charming, confident. He told her he loved her. And slowly, methodically, he turned her into a tool for his crimes. Aaron's voice was smooth, sympathetic. The prosecution wants you to believe Natalie is a mastermind, but the evidence will show she's a victim, a woman manipulated by a career criminal. Yes, she made mistakes. Yes, she trusted the wrong person, but making mistakes is not the same as being a criminal. He gestured to the empty chair beside Natalie. Derek Morrison isn't here. He fled, abandoned Natalie the moment the police got involved. Because that's what he does. He uses women and leaves them to face the consequences alone. That's exactly what happened to 2 other women, both of whom went to prison while Derek walked free. Aaron turned to the jury. The prosecution has documents. They have journals written by a woman who tragically passed away and cannot be cross-examined. They have security footage that shows Natalie at a bank, but not what Derek told her to do, not the threats he made. Not the control he had over her. He paused. Let the words sink in. My client is not innocent of everything, but she is innocent of being a predator. She's a victim of one, and I'm asking you to see the difference. He sat down. Judge Morrison looked at the jury. You've heard the opening statements. The prosecution will now present its case. This trial will determine whether Natalie Walsh is a victim, as the defense claims, or a willing participant in a 5-year scheme to defraud her family and vulnerable elderly people. She looked at Andrea. Call your first witness. Andrea stood. Her eyes met mine across the room. The prosecution calls Gregory Walsh to the stand. The room went silent. Hannah squeezed my hand one more time, then let go. I stood. My legs felt unsteady. Every eye in the room was on me as I walked to the witness stand. The bailiff held out a Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I looked at Natalie. She was staring at me. Her eyes were wet. I do, I said. I sat down. Andrea approached. Behind her, Natalie looked small and scared at the defense table. Aaron Mitchell's pen was poised over his notepad, ready to tear apart everything I was about to say. And somewhere in the third row, 3 elderly people waited to hear me tell the truth about what my daughter had done to them. To all of us. Andrea's first question was simple. Mr. Walsh, how long were you married to Claudia Coleman Walsh? 36 years. And when did you first learn about the $3 million account? I took a breath. The day of her funeral. Can you tell the jury what happened that day? And I did. I told them everything. They asked me to tell the truth. So I told them everything, even the parts that broke me. Andrea stood in front of the witness stand. Behind her, 12 jurors watched. Natalie sat at the defense table, her hands folded, her face pale. Mr. Walsh, tell the jury what happened the day of your wife's funeral. I took a breath. A lawyer gave me an envelope. Inside was a savings passbook and a note from my wife. She told me to go to Heritage Community Bank, to trust no one. What did you do with the passbook? I didn't have time to look at it. Afterward, at my house, Natalie saw it. She said it was probably empty, that Mom never had money. She tried to throw it away from me. I paused. Later, when I wasn't looking, she threw it in the trash anyway. How do you know? I saw her through the kitchen window. She waited until I went outside. Then she threw it away and walked out to meet someone. Derek Morrison. What did you do? I couldn't sleep that night. At 4:30 in the morning, I dug through the trash. I found the passbook. What did you find? Pages of deposits going back to 1988, and on the last page, 7 red stamps. Unauthorized access attempts. Someone had tried to get into my wife's account 7 times. Did you know who? Not then. The next morning, I went to the bank. The director told me there was $3,047,000 in the account. A murmur went through the courtroom. And you had no idea this account existed? None. My wife saved that money for 37 years without telling me. What else did you learn? He showed me security footage. 7 attempts to withdraw money using forged documents. Every attempt was Natalie. I looked at my daughter. She was crying quietly. He also told me my wife had a safe deposit box. Inside were 5 journals. My wife documented everything Natalie did for 5 years. Every lie. Every theft. Andrea handed me a journal. Mr. Walsh read the entry from March 14, 2020. My hands shook. Today I discovered Natalie has been forging my signature. I found a withdrawal slip in the recycling. My name, my account, but not my signature. I cannot tell Gregory yet. He would never believe his golden child is a thief. So I'm writing everything down. My voice broke. Your wife kept 5 years of journals. Yes. What else was in the box? Receipts. Natalie borrowed $250,000 from me over 5 years. Different reasons. Business expenses, medical bills. I gave her the money because she was my daughter. She never paid back a single dollar. Were you aware of the total? No. I thought they were separate loans. I didn't realize it was $250,000 until I saw my wife's records. Andrea pulled out another document. And this, a loan payoff receipt. My wife paid off an $80,000 debt for my younger daughter Hannah, a debt Natalie and Derek created through a fake investment scheme. Your wife paid it without telling anyone. Yes, Hannah was drowning for 2 years and I never knew. Andrea picked up another journal. Read the entry from August 12, 2021. Natalie told Gregory I said he doesn't spend enough time with me. I never said that. She's creating distance between us. She wants us separated so she can manipulate us individually. It's working. Did your relationship with your wife change? Yes, she became distant, cold. I thought she didn't love me anymore, but it wasn't her. It was Natalie. She was lying to both of us, telling me my wife was upset, telling my wife I was tired of her. For 2 years, she kept us apart. Andrea walked to her table. Your Honor, Exhibit M, a letter written by Claudia Walsh, February 20th, 2025, 4 days before her death. She handed me the letter. Read this to the jury. I unfolded it. My wife's handwriting. My dearest Gregory, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't explain while I was alive. I wanted to tell you every day for 5 years, but I needed evidence. I was protecting you from the impossible choice between your daughter and the truth. I couldn't make you choose. So I chose for both of us. I paused. Everything you need is in this box. 5 years of journals. Proof of the money Natalie took. There's one more thing. Natalie is not working alone. Someone dangerous is using her. Please be careful. Protect Hannah, she's innocent. And please don't let Natalie get away with this. Not for my sake, but for everyone else she might hurt. I love you. Even when I seemed cold, I was trying to protect you. Forever yours, Claudia. The courtroom was silent. Andrea's voice was quiet. Your wife asked you not to let Natalie get away with this. Why? Because Natalie didn't just steal from us. She stole from 3 elderly people. Evelyn Tucker, Raymond Fisher, Irene Fletcher. I looked at them in the gallery. My wife knew if Natalie got away with it, she'd do it again. No further questions. Judge Morrison looked at Aaron. Cross-examination. Aaron stood. Mr. Walsh, isn't it possible your wife was confused, that she misunderstood Natalie's intentions? I looked at him. My wife was a CPA for 30 years. She documented every theft with dates, amounts, and methods. That's not confusion. That's evidence. Aaron's jaw tightened. No further questions. Court breaks for the day, Judge Morrison said. Resumes tomorrow at 9. I stepped off the stand. Hannah was there immediately, her arms around me. Across the room, Natalie watched. Her face streaked with tears. She mouthed something. Maybe, I'm sorry. I looked away. Because sorry doesn't fix 5 years of lies. Sorry doesn't bring Claudia back. And sorry doesn't save the people Natalie hurt. The bailiff led her away, and I walked out knowing I'd just destroyed my daughter to honor my wife. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to say out loud. If you've made it this far, with me, drop a 1 in the comments. I need to know someone heard what Claudia was trying to tell us. Before we continue, this story contains dramatized elements for educational purposes. If this isn't the kind of content you're looking for, feel free to step away now. Justice doesn't feel like victory. It feels like closing a wound that will never fully heal. 4 hours after the jury left to deliberate, we got the call. They'd reached a verdict. I sat in the gallery beside Hannah. Her hand was in mine. Across the aisle, Evelyn Tucker, Raymond Fisher, and Irene Fletcher sat together. 3 people my daughter had stolen from. 3 people waiting to see if the system would protect them. The jury filed back in. 12 faces carefully blank. None of them looked at Natalie. That's when I knew. All rise. Judge Morrison entered. We stood, sat when she did. Has the jury reached a verdict? She asked. The foreperson stood. A woman in her 50s with gray hair. We have your honor. On the charge of elder financial abuse, count 1, how do you find guilty? Natalie's shoulders jerked. Aaron put a hand on her arm. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. The foreperson read through all 10 counts. Elder financial abuse, identity theft, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted fraud, 7 counts. Every single one guilty. By the time she finished, Natalie was sobbing. Her hands covered her face. Her whole body shook. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness. "Thank you," Judge Morrison said to the jury. "You are dismissed." She turned to Natalie. "Ms. Walsh, please stand." Natalie stood slowly. Aaron stood beside her. She was still crying, her face red and wet. "Natalie Elizabeth Walsh." Judge Morrison's voice was firm. "You have been found guilty on all counts. Before I pronounce sentence, I will hear victim impact statements." She looked at the gallery. "Evelyn Tucker." Evelyn stood. She was small, 78 years old, wearing a purple cardigan. She walked to the front of the courtroom with careful steps. "I trusted Natalie like a granddaughter," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "She came to my home, drank tea in my kitchen, looked at photos of my late husband. She told me about an investment that would help me leave money for my grandchildren. I gave her $15,000, every penny of my savings." Her voice cracked. "She took it and disappeared. I couldn't afford my medications for 6 months. I trusted her, and she stole from me." Evelyn sat down. Raymond Fisher stood next. He was 83, thin, with a veteran's cap. "I served in Vietnam, came home, worked 40 years as a teacher, saved what I could for retirement. Natalie told me she was collecting for a veterans charity, showed me brochures, official-looking papers. I gave her $22,000. He looked at Natalie. "You stole my retirement, money I earned serving this country, money I saved teaching kids. You looked me in the eye and lied." He sat down. Irene Fletcher stood last. She was 80, with white hair and kind eyes that were now filled with tears. "Claudia Walsh was my friend," she said. "My neighbor for 15 years. We had coffee every week, talked about our gardens, our children. When she got sick, Natalie offered to help me with home repairs. Said the roof needed work. Took $18,000 as a deposit." Irene's voice shook. The repairs never happened. And Claudia never knew her own daughter was stealing from her friends while she was dying. She looked at Natalie. "You betrayed all of us. Your mother, your father, your sister, me, everyone who trusted you." Irene sat down. The courtroom was silent. Judge Morrison looked at Natalie. "Do you have anything to say before sentencing?" Natalie stood, wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I made terrible mistakes. I let someone manipulate me. I hurt people I love. If I could take it back, I would. I'm sorry." Aaron sat down. Judge Morrison's expression didn't change. "Ms. Walsh, I've heard your apology, but I've also read 5 years of journals written by your mother. I've seen security footage of you attempting to steal from her 7 times. I've heard testimony from 3 elderly victims you defrauded." She paused. "You showed no remorse until you were caught. You targeted vulnerable people, including your own dying mother. This court shows no mercy for such cruelty." Judge Morrison looked down at her notes. "On counts 1 through 3, elder financial abuse, you are sentenced to 2 years on each count, to run consecutively. On counts 4 through 10, fraud and identity theft, you are sentenced to 1 year on each count concurrent. Total sentence 6 years in federal prison." Natalie collapsed into her chair. Aaron steadied her. "Chaque dicton." Additionally, the judge continued, You will pay restitution in the amount of $3,047,000 to Gregory Walsh and $55,000 to the 3 elderly victims. Upon release, you will serve 5 years of supervised probation. The gavel came down. This court is adjourned. Natalie was crying so hard now she couldn't stand. 2 bailiffs helped her up, led her toward the side door. She looked back at me one last time. "I hope you're happy, Dad." I looked at my daughter, at the stranger wearing her face. "I'm not happy," I said, "but your mother finally is." The bailiffs took her away. Evelyn, Raymond, and Irene came over. One by one, they shook my hand. "Thank you," Evelyn said. "Thank you for standing up for us." "Your wife was a brave woman," Raymond added. Irene hugged me. "Claudia would be proud." I couldn't speak, just nodded. Hannah and I walked out of the courthouse together. The late afternoon sun was too bright after the dim courtroom. The world kept moving. People walking past, cars driving by. Like nothing had happened. But everything had happened. "Are you okay?" Hannah asked. "No," I said. "But I will be." We stood there for a moment on the courthouse steps. "What happens now?" she asked. "Derek's still out there. FBI's looking for him." I looked at her. "Rebecca said they'll find him eventually. He's done this too many times. Someone always talks." Hannah nodded. "And us? We go home. We figure out how to move forward." I put my arm around her. Together. She leaned against me. "Mom saved all that money for 37 years. What are you going to do with it?" I thought about Claudia, about the journals, about the 3 people who'd just thanked me for doing what she'd asked. "Something that matters," I said. "Something that would make her proud." We walked down the steps. Behind us, the courthouse doors closed. Natalie was going to prison. Derek was still out there somewhere, but Claudia's truth had won. And for the first time in 3 months, I felt like I could breathe. Grief doesn't end, but it changes. After 8 months, I could finally breathe without it hurting. Spring had come to Denver. Washington Park was green again, the lake reflecting blue sky. Hannah and I walked the path around the water. We did this every Sunday now. "I've been thinking about something," Hannah said. She'd cut her hair shorter, started smiling again. The dinner 3 years ago, when I tried to tell you about Natalie. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder." I stopped walking. "Hannah, don't apologize." "But I'm the one who should apologize. I called you jealous. I chose Natalie over you again and again. I failed you. I failed your mother." My throat tightened. "I'm sorry." Her eyes filled with tears. "You didn't know." I should have listened. I pulled her into a hug. "I'm sorry it took losing everything to finally see it." She held on tight. "We didn't lose everything, Dad. We still have each other." We kept walking, past joggers and families. Normal life. "I go to the cemetery every Wednesday," I said. "Bring flowers. Sit for a while." Hannah nodded. She'd been with me twice. To Fairmount Cemetery. To Claudia's grave. The headstone was simple. Claudia Coleman Walsh, 1968 to 2025. Beloved wife and mother. "I finished the journals," I said. "All 5. "Yeah, took me 6 months. I could only read a little at a time." I sat on a bench. Hannah sat beside me. She wrote about loving me on every page, even when she was documenting Natalie's lies. What did she say? There's an entry from 2 years ago, October 2023. She wrote, Gregory tried to hold my hand today. I pulled away. It killed me. But I can't let him get close. If he asks the wrong question, I'll break. I'll tell him everything before I have enough proof. So I stay cold, and I hate myself for it. Hannah's hand found mine. For 2 years, I thought she didn't love me anymore. I wiped my eyes. But she loved me the whole time. She was just protecting me, carrying this alone. She was protecting all of us. I went to the cemetery yesterday, told her I'd finished reading, that I understood, that I forgive her. I turned to Hannah, and that what she did was the bravest thing I've ever seen. We sat in silence, watching the world move around us. Have you heard about Natalie? Hannah asked carefully. She's at FCI Greenville in Illinois. 5 more years at least. I leaned back. Aaron Mitchell sent a letter last month. Said Natalie wants to see me, that she's taking classes, working with a counselor, that she's different. Do you believe it? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe she's still manipulating. I shrugged. Either way, I'm not ready. Maybe someday. What about Derek? Still out there. FBI thinks Mexico. They'll find him eventually. We stood up, kept walking. I've been thinking about the money, I said. The $3 million. Yeah. Claudia saved it for 37 years. I keep thinking, what would she want me to do with it? What do you think? I think she'd want it to mean something. To help people. I stopped walking. I want to start a foundation, something that protects elderly people from financial abuse, free legal aid, education programs, a hotline. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. Dad, that's perfect. I want to call it the Claudia Coleman Foundation for Elder Protection. Mom would love it. I was hoping you'd help me run it. She blinked. What? You're good with people. You understand design branding. And you know what it's like to be manipulated. I took her hands. I can't do this alone. I need you. Dad. She pulled me into a hug. Yes, of course, yes. We stood there holding each other. For the first time since Claudia died, I felt something other than grief. I felt purpose. When do we start? Hannah asked. Soon. I've talked to Rebecca about it. She knows lawyers who specialize in elder law, and Evelyn Raymond and Irene want to help. They want to be advisors, tell their stories. The people Natalie hurt, yeah, they're turning their pain into protection for others. I looked at the sky. That's what we're all doing now. Taking what Natalie and Derek destroyed and building something better. Hannah squeezed my hand. Mom would be so proud. I hope so. We walked back to the car. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Beautiful, like the world was reminding us that beautiful things still existed. Dad, Hannah said. Yeah. Thank you. For finally listening. For choosing justice. For choosing me. I pulled her close. I should have chosen you from the beginning. I'm sorry it took so long. We're here now. That's what matters. We got in the car, drove home through Denver's streets, past the courthouse where Natalie had been convicted, past the bank where Claudia had kept her secrets, past everything that had broken us, toward everything we were building. Together. My wife's money would have made Natalie rich. Instead, It's making the world a little safer. The office was small, just 3 rooms on the second floor of an old building in Capitol Hill. But it was ours. A desk, a filing cabinet, a phone line, a sign on the door that read, "The Claudia Coleman Foundation for Elder Protection." 8 months after the trial, we opened the doors. Hannah stood beside me holding a pair of scissors. Rebecca Stone was there. Evelyn Tucker, Raymond Fisher, Irene Fletcher. A few reporters. Some people from the neighborhood who'd heard about what we were doing. I looked at the ribbon stretched across the doorway. Red like the stamps in Claudia's passbook. Red like the warning she'd left behind. "Ready?" Hannah asked. I nodded. She cut the ribbon, people clapped, and just like that we were open. Inside, Hannah had designed everything. The walls were painted soft blue, Claudia's favorite color. There were photos of her on the wall, not formal portraits, just snapshots. Claudia in the garden, Claudia at Hannah's college graduation, Claudia laughing, alive. "This is perfect," I said. Hannah smiled. She would have liked it. Rebecca stepped forward. "Can I say a few words?" "Of course." She turned to the small crowd. "I'm Detective Rebecca Stone, Denver Police. I worked on Claudia Walsh's case. I've been in law enforcement for 20 years, and I've seen a lot of financial abuse cases. Most of them go unreported. Victims are ashamed, scared. They don't know where to turn." She gestured to the office. "This foundation changes that. Free legal help, financial education, a 24/7 hotline, support groups. This is what justice looks like after the trial is over." People nodded. Evelyn wiped her eyes. Rebecca looked at me. "Mr. Walsh, would you like to speak?" I stepped forward, cleared my throat. "My wife Claudia saved $3 million over 37 years. She did it quietly, carefully. She never told anyone. And when our daughter tried to steal it, Claudia didn't report it. She documented it, built a case, protected her family the only way she knew how." My voice steadied. "Claudia died before she could see justice, but she left us everything we needed to finish what she started. And now that money, the money she saved her whole life, is going to save other people. That's her legacy." I looked at Hannah, at Evelyn, Raymond, Irene. "This foundation exists because Claudia refused to let cruelty win, and because 3 people who were hurt by my daughter chose to turn their pain into protection for others." Evelyn stood. "I'm honored to be part of this." Raymond nodded. "We all are." "Thank you," I said. "All of you." We spent the rest of the afternoon showing people around, explaining our mission, taking down names of people who needed help or wanted to volunteer. By the time everyone left, Hannah and I were alone in the office. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like we're doing something that matters." She smiled, pulled out her laptop. "I've been tracking our first 8 months. Want to see home? We've been open 8 months. No, but we've been working, taking calls, connecting people with lawyers. Rebecca's been helping behind the scenes." She turned the screen toward me. "The Claudia Coleman Foundation. 8-month impact report. 54 elderly individuals assisted, 12 cases prosecuted, $340. 000 recovered for victims, 8 support group meetings, held 120 people, attended financial literacy workshops." I stared at the numbers. 54 people. 54 people who might have lost everything. Now they have help, legal representation, someone who believes them. Hannah closed the laptop. Mom's money is doing exactly what she would have wanted. I looked at Claudia's photo on the wall. smiling, happy. Yeah, I said. It is. Hannah stood. I need to grab something from the car. Be right back. She left. I sat at the desk, looked around the office, at everything we'd built from grief and $3 million and a dead woman's determination. My phone buzzed. Rebecca. Gregory, you at the foundation. Yeah, we just finished the opening. Congratulations. Listen, I wanted to give you a heads up. We got a letter today, at the station. From FCY Greenville. My chest tightened. Natalie. Yeah, it's addressed to you. I'm having it forwarded, but I wanted to tell you first, in case you don't want to read it. What does it say? I can't open it. It's sealed, but the prison counselor called me, said Natalie's been in therapy, taking classes. She wanted to write to you. Okay. You don't have to read it, Gregory. You don't owe her anything. I know. Call me if you need anything. Thanks, Rebecca. I hung up. 2 days later, the letter arrived. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the envelope. Federal prison return address, Natalie's handwriting, neat, careful, like Claudia's. I almost threw it away, but I didn't. I opened it. Dear Dad, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I see now what I did. I destroyed the people who loved me most. I spent 5 years lying, stealing, manipulating. I told myself it was Derek's fault, that he made me do it, that I was a victim. I wasn't. I chose to hurt you. I chose to hurt Mom. I chose to hurt Hannah. Every time, every lie, every theft. Prison is giving me time to understand why. To see who I really was. A coward, a thief. Someone who valued money more than love. Mom knew, she knew for 5 years. And she didn't give up on me. She built a case, yes. But she also kept hoping I'd stop, that I'd wake up. I read the journals. The prosecution gave me copies. Every entry where she wrote about wanting to save me, wanting to believe I could be better. I wasn't better. But I'm trying now. I'm taking classes. Accounting like Mom. Counseling. I'm learning about the people I hurt. About elder abuse. About what predators like Derek and like me do to families. I don't expect you to write back. I don't expect you to visit. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. For everything. And I hope one day I can be the person Mom thought I could be. I hope you and Hannah are okay. I hope you're healing. Love, Natalie. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it. Put it in a drawer. Didn't throw it away. But didn't answer it either. Maybe someday, but not yet. Hannah came home an hour later. Found me at the table. You okay? Yeah. Natalie sent a letter. What did it say? That she's sorry. That she's trying to change. Do you believe her? I don't know. I looked at my daughter. My youngest. The one I should have protected better. But I'm not ready to find out. Hannah nodded, sat beside me. That's okay. You don't have to be. We sat in silence for a while. Then Hannah's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Her eyes widened. Dad, it's Rebecca, I answered. Rebecca, Gregory, FBI just called. They found him. My heart stopped. Derek. Yeah, Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. They're bringing him back. He'll be arraigned next week. I looked at Hannah, At the letter from Natalie. At the foundation we'd built. Good, I said. It's about time. Derek Morrison was finally caught, and Claudia's justice was almost complete. It took 1 year, 2 countries, and 6 states. But they finally caught him. Rebecca's call came on a Tuesday morning, exactly 12 months after Natalie's sentencing. I was at the foundation office reviewing grant applications with Hannah when my phone buzzed. "Gregory," Rebecca said. Her voice carried something I hadn't heard before. Relief. "We got him." I knew who she meant. There was only one him left. Where? Cabo San Lucas, FBI tracked him through a wire transfer he made to a girlfriend in Phoenix. Picked him up this morning at a beachfront condo. He'll be extradited within 48 hours. Hannah looked up from her desk. I nodded to her, and she covered her mouth with both hands. Derek Samuel Morrison, the man who'd walked into my home 6 years ago as Natalie's boyfriend. The man who'd taught my daughter how to steal from her dying mother. The man who'd vanished the day before Natalie's arrest. Finally caught. There's more, Rebecca continued. The FBI's been building a case for the past year. Gregory Derek didn't just target you. He hit 11 other families across 6 states: California, Arizona, Florida, Texas, Colorado, Oregon. 12 families total, including yours. I sat down slowly. How much? $8.7 million. The number hung in the air like a verdict. Hannah was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I reached across the desk and took her hand. The pattern's consistent, Rebecca said. He finds young women with wealthy parents, usually women in their late 20s or early 30s working in caregiving or social services. Women with access to vulnerable people. He gets close, learns about their families, then manipulates them into stealing. When the heat gets too close, he disappears. The women go to prison. He moves to the next state. How many women? 7 that we know of. 2 in Florida, 2 in Arizona, 1 in Texas, 1 in California, and Natalie in Colorado. 3 of those women are still in federal prison. 1 died by suicide 2 years into her sentence. My chest tightened. Natalie was one of 7. 7 women he'd destroyed to get to their family's money. What about the families? I asked. Devastated. 3 elderly parents died before they saw justice. 2 families lost their homes. 1 man, a veteran in Texas, lost his entire retirement and had to move in with his son in another state. The Arizona victim was a woman with dementia. Her daughter drained her account over 3 years. By the time anyone noticed, the mother was in a state facility and the daughter was in prison. Derek was long gone. I thought of Claudia, her journals, her 5 years of silent documentation, her refusal to tell me until she had proof. She'd known. Somehow she'd known Derek was more than just a bad boyfriend. When's the arraignment? I asked. Next week. Denver District Court. They're charging him federally wire fraud, conspiracy, interstate transportation of stolen funds, money laundering. The DA wants you there, and Hannah, if she's willing. I looked at my daughter. She nodded immediately. We'll be there, I said. 1 week later, the federal courthouse felt different than the county building where Natalie had been tried. Bigger, colder, more permanent. Derek was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit and ankle chains. His hair was shorter than I remembered his face, tanned from a year in Mexico. He looked relaxed, almost amused. That changed when he saw me. Our eyes met across the courtroom, and something flickered in his expression. Recognition, then calculation. He was still trying to figure out an angle. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Margaret Brown, reviewed the charges. 17 counts, each one carrying up to 20 years. Derek's attorney, a public defender, who looked exhausted before the hearing even started, entered a not guilty plea. The judge set bail at $5 million, which might as well have been $5 billion. Derek had no assets. Everything he'd stolen had been spent or hidden. The defendant is remanded to federal custody pending trial, Judge Williams said. Trial date set for March 15th. As the marshals led Derek away, he turned back toward me. I expected anger, maybe fear. Instead, he smiled. "Your wife was smart," he called out loud enough for the whole courtroom to hear. "Smarter than all of them. She was the only one who saw through me before I could run." The marshals pulled him toward the door, but he kept talking, his voice carrying across the marble floors. "She built a case against her own daughter for 5 years. That's dedication. That's—" The door closed, cutting him off. Hannah was shaking beside me. Rebecca stood on my other side, her jaw tight. "He's trying to get under your skin," she said quietly. "Don't let him." But I wasn't angry. I felt something else. Something like pride. Claudia had seen him. Not just seen him, she'd understood him. She'd known that speaking up without proof would tear the family apart. So she documented everything. Dates, amounts, methods, patterns. She'd built a legal case that would stand up in court, that would protect Hannah and me even after she was gone. She'd beaten him without ever confronting him face to face. That was real strength. 3 months later, Derek's trial lasted 2 weeks. The prosecution brought in victims from all 6 states, elderly parents, who'd lost their savings, daughters and sons, who'd discovered too late what had been stolen, families who'd been torn apart by betrayal. The defense tried to paint Derek as a victim himself, abandoned as a child in and out of foster care, just trying to survive. His attorney argued that the women had acted on their own, that Derek had simply been a boyfriend who didn't ask enough questions. The jury didn't buy it. On the 14th day, they returned a guilty verdict on all 17 counts. Sentencing came a month later. Judge Williams sentenced Derek to 18 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole. Restitution was set at $8.7 million to be divided among the 12 victim families. "Mr. Morrison," the judge said, looking down at him from the bench, "you have spent the better part of 2 decades preying on families. You targeted trust. You weaponized love. You turned daughters against mothers, sisters against fathers. You left a trail of broken families and empty bank accounts across this country." She paused, letting the words settle. "This court will not show you the mercy you never showed your victims. 18 years. And I hope you spend every single day of that sentence thinking about the lives you destroyed." Derek said nothing. His face was blank now, all the charm and calculation finally gone. As they led him away, I thought of Claudia's letter. "Please don't let Natalie get away with this. Not for my sake, but for everyone else she might hurt." Claudia hadn't just saved our family. She'd saved every family Derek might have targeted next. I drove home that afternoon with Hannah beside me. We didn't talk much. There wasn't much left to say. When I pulled into the driveway, I sat for a moment, with my hands on the steering wheel, looking at the house Claudia and I had bought 30 years ago. "It's really over, isn't it?" Hannah said quietly. "Yeah," I said. "It's really over." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "Mom would be proud of us." I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Claudia, if you're watching, we got him. Both of them." The Claudia Coleman Foundation had helped 54 people in 8 months, 12 prosecutions, $340,000 recovered, lives protected, families saved. Derek Morrison and Natalie Walsh were both in federal prison, and Claudia's legacy wasn't the money she'd saved. It was the people we'd protect with it. Justice didn't feel like victory. It felt like an ending. and maybe finally a beginning. 18 months after I found that passbook in the trash, I finally understood what my wife had been trying to tell me all along. The truth doesn't just set you free. It demands something from you first. It demands that you look at what you don't want to see, that you admit what you don't want to admit, that you choose what's right over what's easy. Claudia chose the truth, and it cost her everything. But in the end, it saved us all. I was sitting on a bench in Washington Park on a Sunday afternoon in late spring. Hannah sat beside me, rocking a stroller back and forth with one hand. Inside the stroller, wrapped in a pink blanket with her tiny fists curled against her chest, was my granddaughter, Claudia Grace Walsh, 3 weeks old. Hannah had told me the name 2 months before the baby was born. I'd cried in the hospital parking lot for 20 minutes. "She's got Mom's nose," Hannah said, smiling down at the baby. "Look at that little thing." I leaned over and studied my granddaughter's face. She was right. Claudia's nose, Claudia's chin, maybe even Claudia's stubborn streak, judging by the way she'd screamed through her first diaper change that morning. "Your mom would have loved her," I said quietly. "I know." Hannah's voice caught. I wished she could have met her. We sat in silence for a while, watching joggers pass by and dogs chase tennis balls across the grass. The park was full of families, kids on bikes, couples holding hands. Life moving forward the way it always does. "The foundation hit a milestone last week," Hannah said after a while. "We've helped over 150 people now. 18 months, 150 victims of elder financial abuse who got legal help counseling or financial recovery." I nodded. I knew the numbers. I reviewed them every week. "We've recovered $1.2 million for victims across 8 states, Hannah continued. "And 8 states have adopted our model. California, Arizona, Texas, Oregon, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, and Montana. They're setting up their own programs based on what we built. $1.2 million, 8 states, 150 lives protected. Claudia's $3 million was doing what she'd always wanted it to do. It was helping people. It was stopping predators like Derek and Natalie before they could destroy another family." "Evelyn called yesterday," I said. "She wanted to tell you that her grandson got into college. Full scholarship. He's the first person in their family to go." Hannah smiled. "That's because of the money we recovered for her. $15,000. It paid for his SAT prep and application fees. $15,000. The amount Natalie had stolen from a 78-year-old woman who'd trusted her. Now that same $15,000 was sending a kid to college. "Raymond's doing well too," Hannah said. "He's teaching again. Volunteers at the VA 3 days a week, helping other veterans avoid financial scams." Raymond Fisher, 83 years old, $22,000 stolen. He'd spent 6 months thinking he'd lost everything. Now he was teaching other people how to protect themselves. "And Irene, she's on our board of advisors now. She told me last week she's never been happier. She said helping other people heal has helped her heal." Irene Fletcher, 80 years old, $18,000, Claudia's friend and neighbor who'd been betrayed while Claudia was dying. Now she was part of the mission to make sure it never happened to anyone else. I looked down at baby Claudia fast asleep in her stroller. Her tiny chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm. Peaceful, safe, loved. "Mom would be so proud of you," I said to Hannah. She reached over and squeezed my hand. "She'd be proud of both of us." We stayed in the park for another hour watching the sun move lower in the sky. Then we drove to Fairmount Cemetery. It was our Sunday ritual now. Park first, then the cemetery. Hannah with the baby. Me with flowers. We walked slowly up the hill to Claudia's grave. The headstone was simple, gray granite with her name and dates. Claudia Coleman Walsh, 1968 to 2025. She chose truth over comfort. Hannah had picked the inscription. I'd approved it immediately. I knelt down and placed the flowers at the base of the stone. White lilies. Claudia's favorite. Hannah stood a few feet back, holding the baby against her chest. She was giving me space. She always did. "Hi, Claudia," I said quietly. "It's me again." The words felt awkward at first, talking to a headstone. But over the past 18 months, it had become easier. Not because I thought she could hear me, but because I needed to say the things I'd never said when she was alive. I brought Hannah and the baby today. Your granddaughter, Claudia Grace. She's beautiful. You would have loved her so much. I traced my fingers over the letters of her name. The foundation hit 150 people this week. 150 Claudia. Can you believe that we've recovered over $1 million? 8 states are using our model now. You're helping people all over the country. My voice cracked. I cleared my throat and kept going. Thank you for the Passbook. Thank you for the journals. Thank you for loving me enough to protect me even when it hurt you. Even when it meant pushing me away. Even when it meant carrying all of that weight alone for 5 years. I closed my eyes and let the tears come. I wish I'd listened sooner. I wish I'd seen Hannah's pain. I wish I'd believed that you were distant, because of Natalie, not because of me. I wish I'd trusted you enough to ask the hard questions. I opened my eyes and looked at the headstone again. But I promise you this. Your truth will never be forgotten. 150 people are safe because of you. And that number's going to keep growing. Every single day, someone's going to be protected because you had the courage to document what Natalie was doing. Because you built a case instead of just making an accusation. Because you chose the hard path. I placed my hand flat against the cold granite. Rest now, Claudia. Justice has been served. Derek's in prison for 18 years. Natalie's serving her sentence. Hannah and I are healing. And your legacy is saving lives every single day. Hannah walked over and stood beside me. She knelt down and placed one hand on the stone next to mine. "Hi, Mom," she whispered. "We miss you. Every day." Baby Claudia stirred in her arms and made a soft cooing sound. Hannah smiled through her tears. "Your granddaughter says hi too." We stayed for a few more minutes, then stood and walked slowly back to the car. As we drove home, Hannah turned to me. "Dad, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I went to see Natalie again last week. That's twice now." I kept my eyes on the road. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "How is she?" "Different," Hannah said carefully. "She's taking classes, accounting and business ethics. She's in therapy twice a week. She talks about Mom a lot, about what she did, about how much she regrets it." I didn't say anything. "She asked about you," Hannah continued. "She wanted to know if you'd ever consider visiting." "I don't know if I can," I said honestly. "I know, I told her that. But Dad, I think she's really changing. Slowly. But it's real." I pulled into the driveway and turned off the engine. We sat in silence for a moment. "Do you think you'll ever forgive her?" Hannah asked quietly. I looked at my daughter, 27 years old now, stronger than she'd ever been, a mother herself. "I don't know," I said, "but I know your mom would want me to leave that door open. Not for Natalie's sake, for mine." Hannah nodded. "That's fair." "She's got 4 more years," I said. "Maybe by then I'll be ready. Maybe I won't. But I'm not closing the door completely." Your mom wouldn't have wanted that." Hannah reached over and hugged me. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, sweetheart." That night, after Hannah and the baby had gone home, I sat in my living room with a cup of coffee and looked at the framed photo on the mantel. Claudia and me on our wedding day, 30 years ago, young and hopeful, and so sure we had everything figured out. We didn't have anything figured out, but we loved each other. And in the end, that love had been strong enough to survive betrayal, secrets, and even death. Some people say the truth hurts, and they're right. It does. The truth shattered my family, sent my daughter to prison, and revealed that a marriage I thought I understood had been built on secrets I never saw. But in the end, the truth is the only thing that heals. It's the only thing that lasts. My wife knew that, and now so do I. The Claudia Coleman Foundation would keep growing. More families would be protected. More predators would be stopped. More lives would be saved. Because one woman had the courage to choose truth over comfort. And because of that choice, her legacy would live forever. Looking back at this family story, I see a man who was blind when he should have been vigilant. I trusted too easily. I dismissed warnings. I chose comfort over truth. Don't be like me. Listen when your gut whispers something's wrong. Pay attention when one child warns you about another. Watch the patterns, not just the tears. Because manipulators don't announce themselves, they disguise themselves as the people you love most. This isn't a dad revenge story, though. Some might see it that way. This is a dad revenge against his own blindness. A dad revenge against the lies that almost destroyed what remained of his family. But here's what I learned: God gives us signs. Claudia's coldness wasn't rejection, it was protection. Hannah's fear wasn't jealousy, it was truth. Even Natalie's perfect facade was a warning I refused to read. God was speaking through every moment I ignored. The greatest family story isn't about money saved or criminals caught. It's about what we do when we finally see the truth. Do we hide? Do we excuse, or do we stand up no matter how much it costs? Claudia taught me that love sometimes means building a case in silence. Hannah taught me that forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. And Natalie taught me that even your own blood can betray you if you let them. God didn't stop the betrayal, but He gave us the strength to survive it. If this family story sounds familiar, if you see yourself in my mistakes, don't wait. Protect the people who tell you uncomfortable truths. Document what you see. And remember, sometimes the cruelest thing you can do to someone you love is to let them get away with destroying others. I appreciate you watching this journey to its conclusion. Drop a 2 in the comments if you made it this far with me. Quick note: this narrative includes dramatized elements crafted for awareness and reflection. If this style doesn't resonate with you, no worries, there's plenty of other content out there waiting for you.